Good morning, I'm Frank Powers, and this is Lifestyle Tucson, the program where I speak to our neighbors, the people behind the scenes of our amazing organizations that are 501c3 nonprofits. Our friends are informing you how they serve our community, and they are here to give you updates on future projects. Let's make some new friends today. I received a letter. Dear Frank, I'm writing as the Executive Director of Desert Survivors, a nonprofit organization that has served the Tucson community for over 40 years. We are a supported employment provider for adults with disabilities. Our participants sharpen their job skills by running our small retail nursery and providing commercial landscaping services. Nonprofits are experiencing a lot of uncertainty regarding their funding, and those of us relying on Medicaid have even more to consider. As a result, I am working on building deeper connections with the community in the hopes that a better understanding of our mission will help us to endure these circumstances. What a great letter. And today I'm fortunate enough to speak with Executive Director of Desert Survivors, Hanna Woelke. Hanna, welcome to Lifestyle Tucson.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, thank you for the letter. I appreciate you listening and reaching out, because I ask a lot of the organizations in town to reach out if they want to get involved or get on the radio and talk about all this stuff. And I love to shine a spotlight. So I really love that you're taking the initiative and trying to get out there in the world and shine a spotlight on what you're doing. So let's do that today. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Tell me everything there is to know, or maybe just 101, about what Desert Survivors is.
Well, Desert Survivors, as I said, has been around for over 40 years. We were started by a local psychologist here in town who worked with folks that were institutionalized. And he just felt very strongly that they had more to offer, that they could lead more fulfilling lives and contribute. So he pulled 5 guys out of the institution and taught them how to collect seeds and propagate plants. And we had a tiny little storefront on Grant Road where those men sold the plants that they had grown. And that was the first time in their lives that they made any money. He intentionally chose folks that had a lot of barriers because he didn't want anyone to be able to say that he picked the easy guys. Mm-hmm. So one of those men had actually killed somebody in the hospital.
Wow.
So these are folks that have significant barriers to employment. And that is still the foundation of our services. We aim to work with people who haven't been able to find success in other programs. That's what we're all about. So we have multiple contracts with different funders, but the bulk of our folks have come to us because they have a developmental disability and they have funding in that way. Many of them also have a co-occurring mental health diagnosis, which unfortunately neither the DD system nor the mental health system is great at working with. So those are people who frequently get kicked out of other training programs, from jobs. By the time they come to us, we're often their last chance at getting work ready. And we like to say that we don't give up on people. Anybody is employable if they have the right supports. And so our mission at the core of it is making sure that everybody who wants to work has an opportunity to do that.
Well, that's amazing. Well, important stuff. And the history of your organization is right there on the website, where you get to watch how it grew from just that very small little thing right on Grant Road and turning into a big nursery as you start partnering with people. You can see the story over at desertsurvivors.org, learn all about it. And I even recognized a famous name, Petey Moschitti. That's right. He got involved with your organization in the 90s. And real name Peter Gerlach. I'm friends with his daughter and friends with her husband because they do a lot of stuff when it comes to plants here around town.
Yep.
But him getting involved obviously helped everything grow as the vision kept expanding. And then in 2004, it says that the plant nursery went completely locally and regionally native, and you made the wise decision to no longer sell plants from other continents and regions, focusing on everything here. And now you're as big as an area as 4.3 acres. Is that what's going on?
Yeah. So we don't own the land. We lease it from the city.
Okay.
We started leasing the land in 1986. So we've been in that location since 1986.
Wow.
like any organization that's more than 40 years old, we have had tons of programs, and services have come and gone, and contracts have changed. Right now, our focus is on true integration. And part of why that's important is because the atmosphere, the culture around disability services has shifted a lot over those 4 decades. When we were first on the scene, I mean, Desert Survivors, to put it in perspective, Desert Survivors is older than the ADA.
What's the ADA?
Oh, Americans with Disabilities Act.
Okay.
So there were no real rules about how you had to interact with people with disabilities.
Even some of your origin, real quick, it's like,
oh, yeah.
They used to put them in mental facilities like the Crazy House, like that. They didn't know what to do with folks. I'm from Long Island, and famously
Willowbrook.
Yes. So we're like kind of well aware of the history of how people were treated. And in my family, I've had some people with disabilities, my great aunt and all that stuff. So I'm very used to it and grown up around it. But you can see how other folks who are not feel very uncomfortable. They get alienated. And there's all different types of mental disabilities nowadays. There's a big spectrum of them, as we all know. Yep. So that's been a big evolution. It's just the way we as society since the late 70s have treated everybody. So that's obviously a big important part of it. Right.
And so we have had to respond to communities and what they need from us for support. So, perhaps if somebody came to us 20 years ago, there was no expectation for that person to go out into the community and work independently. And it was okay for supported employment like us to be their last stop. That's no longer appropriate. Most young people and their families expect them to be able to work in an integrated job making minimum wage. And because of that, organizations like us have to do a better job preparing people for that level of independence in the community. What that looks like is more integration, more responsibility, more truly transferable job skills in programs like ours. So you could have been a Desert Survivors nursery member for 20 years, and I talk to folks who say this all the time, and never knew that we were a work program.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Because up until fairly recently, the supported employees were not running the retail aspect of the nursery. That has changed. And so now if you come to the nursery to shop, potentially you will be rung up at the cash register by a supported employee. They're doing more now than they've ever done for the organization. And the reason that we focus on that and other integration related issues like accessibility is that that's the only way they're going to be prepared to move on into a regular job.
Yeah. Well, that's the only way any of us are going to be prepared to move on into a regular job. Treat people like people. How about that?
Yeah.
And knowing that what people used to think were the limitations of someone with those needs, it turns out those people are actually quite capable.
Yes.
And that's a big deal. Another experience from my life, I used to work at a grocery store, and we would have several of those employees. And one of them was one of the best employees. She worked there for 30 years, had 2 jobs, between that and Burger King that she worked, and did that for 30 years and then retired. Like one of those news stories you see nationwide. Also, one of the happiest people I've ever met, one of the nicest people I've ever met, and one of the best employees that the place has ever had. So you can't sell people short and, doubt them. And I love that that's what your organization is all about, because the thing is you're going on there saying we do this, we do this, we do this. What you really do is offer opportunity.
Exactly.
That's the point. So let's talk about your programs. Tell me about some of the programs that people are in and what you're doing to get people work ready and to feel like a complete person when it comes to being employed.
Anytime somebody works with us, we want to make sure that we're meeting not just their needs, but also their interests. So we focus on job seekers who are interested in working in agriculture or the trades. As a small plant nursery, we, prune our own trees, fix our own irrigation, occasionally even electrical issues. we try to be as self-sufficient as possible because that saves us a lot of money. And what that means is that's an opportunity for job seekers to learn a lot more than just how to work in a plant nursery, because frankly, there's not that many plant nursery jobs out there.
True.
It also allows them to learn things like propagation. We've got a crew that plants the babies. They plant the seeds, they watch them and nurture them and uppot them as they grow. But they're also learning the practical skills involved with propagating, which is maintaining a propagation log and doing your research about what your seeds need to grow. That's all truly transferable job skills. We also have folks that go off-site. That's not for everyone, because those are contracts that we have with businesses to do landscaping. So the people who go off-site really have to want to work.
Yeah,
right?
And you do that. So you go and you actually service a bunch of great things here in the community. I've got them all listed here. You do some stuff for Pima County, that you partner with Pima County and the Department of Natural Resources and Parks and Rec, that you have 2 crews that maintain the Santa Cruz River Park, Chuck Huckleberry Loop, and the Irvington to Ina Road. That's where you're doing all that stuff. You also do some stuff at Casa Club HOA, the Mahoney Group, Johnny Gibson's Downtown Market, making sure that their patio is looking great with all those planters. So it's fascinating to me that that's what you're doing. You're taking people around town to maintain these other places like landscaping companies do, and really also beautifying the areas in which people are going and hanging out.
Exactly. I think that it gives people the experience of being responsible to maintaining a contract. Our partners have expectations about the work that they're doing, and the guys have to be able to meet those. So that's a really important thing to learn. The other piece is that there's a lot of organizations and businesses that want to transition their landscaping. Water is scarce and everybody knows it. So one of the benefits of using us for your landscape maintenance is that you get a discount on all of our fabulous plants, and we can give you some advice around what might be a good choice to change your landscaping to low water use.
Oh, well, that's very fascinating and efficient as well.
Super helpful.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's nice to check a lot of boxes there, right?
Yeah.
Especially helping out these environmentalists. So I imagine as someone that's in charge of a lot of plants, you really care about this environment.
We do. We do. The plants, our tagline, right, is nurturing plants and people since 1981. And that's truly how we feel about it. Plants are a wonderful way. Working in soil in general is a great way to ground yourself. So it can be a very soothing space for people who are dealing with a lot of struggles. But we're not therapists. We're employment providers.
That's an interesting point.
So we want to provide an opportunity for people to be able to reach their full potential. And so it isn't about everybody has to have a great day, right? It's about understanding that everyone's needs are complex, but everybody has opportunities to develop coping mechanisms and be able to contribute and be successful in whatever that means for them, regardless of their barriers. It isn't about becoming a perfect person or fitting into some preordained expectation of what a perfect employee should be. That's not what we do. I'm not about creating more grist for the capitalist mill. I'm not interested in that.
What was that phrase? Say that again. More what? What was that? More grist for the capital mill, eh?
We're talking about a population of people that are very easily exploited in the employment space.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't just want to tell them, go out there and do what people tell you. That's a very dangerous thing to say to people with developmental disabilities. I prefer that they're learning about themselves. What are they good at? What do they enjoy? What do they think they want their next employment step to look like. That's really what we're there for. Some people come and the only takeaway they have is, I never want to work outside in the desert ever again. And that is totally valid.
Yeah, that's true. Because I guess some of us dig it. My roommate loves it. He's way into plants and does all this stuff. He'll be outside all day in his big hat and he's wearing all white and rinsing himself off constantly. He just soaks himself all day long and has a knack for it. I myself like to make an igloo and just hide inside of it and tape up my windows. But that's a really important thing when it comes to what you're doing. I also love a bit of I'm just going to say it, some of that tough love. That sounds good because you're not there to really you're really trying to provide something that everyone could kind of use, and that's as equal as things get. Because, right, I don't care what organization you are, it's hard to create a perfect employee for anything. That's the idea. But helping people discover who they are, what their goals are, what their likes and wants are, and more importantly, sometimes their dislikes, what they don't want to do.
Exactly.
It's called work for a reason. That's what it is. And you're helping people work and earn and become independent because I'll just say, as you were saying, it's not about everyone having a joyous day, but at the end of a hard day of work, when you're done and you're going to have a beer or an ice cream cone, whatever your choice is, I'm particular to ice cream, that is the satisfaction of like, well, I earned it today.
Exactly.
I earned that money today. When you're doing this, what do you find has been like the response from these folks? Because I imagine it is positive 9 times out of 10.
Oh, yeah. When we started making more changes around integrating people into every aspect of the business, it was kind of amazing. It's one of those things that keeps me working in this business, but it's also hard to show the community, right? We see amazing things happen every single day, but it's difficult to share that with people who are customers or supporters. So, for example, we had a young man who'd been in the program almost a decade. He always went off-site for landscaping. They have opportunities to ask questions and look into other responsibilities, but he never did that. We initially thought that most of our people struggled with self-advocacy, which is very common in the disability community. But what we realized is that once they understood that we were going to listen to them and respect their choices, then they would self-advocate. So this young man had never said anything before, but when he saw that people were getting responses when they asked for things, he requested to work on site for half his week. Everyone was totally shocked because everybody assumed that he'd been doing it off site because he loved it. Mm-hmm. But really it was because he didn't understand that he had a choice. We've had another guy who was with us for a very long time. He walked up to me one day and just said, "Can I make that a flower bed around one of our trees?" And I was like, of course you can. And I said, well, what are you thinking of doing? He's like, a little brick edging, some white rock on top. I'm like, you go, right? So seeing people open up because they understand that they're going to be respected and supported has been amazing. Well, I have this one particular woman who really likes to show off her guns. And she can work really hard. She let me know that she wanted to be the person responsible for taking all of the big metal carts that shoppers use for plants and putting them away at the end of the day. She was like, I want to do it by myself every day before I leave. And what I realized is because she didn't feel like the people who were doing it well enough.
I know the feeling.
Right? And she gestured to this pile, dare I say, slightly messy pile of carts and was thoroughly disgusted and explained that that's why she wanted the responsibility. That's the kind of stuff, I mean, how do I tell that to every customer that comes through the door?
Yeah.
All they see is the plant,
Right.
The plants look nice. The plants don't look nice.
or even when interacting, because here's the thing. Sometimes, dare I use professional wrestling as an analogy?
Please do.
Deal. All right. So sometimes people go and it looks so good, right, that it looks easy. Let's use the trapeze artists as well at the circus, because that takes all that practice, time, effort, energy, and skill to get it to be that good that it looks easy. So when customers are coming in, they don't know about that cashier's journey, that they didn't used to be able to talk and they didn't used to be able to speak and were afraid of the public. But now after years of hanging out, learning, growing, and doing this, here they are ringing you up. And this person's just like, I'm in a rush, I'm going to go. Or they can't truly see those microscopic steps that you get to see every day, or those big bold steps of saying, hey, from this day forward, I need to do this. And that is some of it. Is it's hard to see the behind the scenes of someone doing something, because you're right, you don't know what it is for it to get to that point. And that's an important part of the story is you're helping them achieve so much that it is almost taken for granted. All right, so we're talking about some of this and the opportunity to make that money. I notice you do say minimum wage, and minimum wage isn't that much, but it's also not great to be on Social Security. We were just talking a little bit off air, and you were explaining this to me. Explain it to me now, though, yet again.
So traditionally, these kinds of organizations were allowed to pay people less than minimum wage. That's an old law from the 30s. It's still there. It's federal. We were a sub-minimum wage employer, as was everyone else doing this work in the 80s. About, I want to say 2021, we stopped doing sub-minimum wage and started paying all of our supported employees minimum wage. That is, to us, a foundational human rights issue.
Very much. When you're explaining what sub-minimum wage is, you said as low as 20 cents?
Right.
That's so wild to me.
So sub-minimum wage, the process is you're taking somebody with a disability and you're comparing their level of productivity to someone without a disability doing the same job. That doesn't take into consideration the person's strengths or interests. So you might have somebody who has very significant mobility disabilities expected to do a job that requires hand-to-eye coordination, and obviously they won't be as productive as the non-disabled peer. So they're getting a percentage of minimum wage based on their productivity. So they could be earning 1% or 3%.
That's monstrous, because what you say, it was a thing, a forward-thinking thing from the 80s, late 70s, 80s, and it is because, they're not a complete person. You're not getting as much productivity out of them, so we're going to pay them a fraction. No. That woman I was telling you about, that literally worked 2 jobs and was Employee of the Month, probably did as much, if not better work than plenty of people I know who used to take naps in the bathroom when no one was looking. That's right. I've only out your name, but you know who it is. All right. And that's astonishing.
Yeah. And I think the key there is to remember that anybody can be productive if you're paying attention to what their strengths are and what their interests are. I mean, I would not hire somebody with significant physical disabilities and mobility barriers to work on a fast-paced assembly line.
No.
Why would we do that?
Right.
Right. But that doesn't mean that that's the only job that person can do. Why aren't we instead helping that individual explore their potential and creating a job match with them that is truly sustainable and will allow them to have financial independence? Because Social Security keeps you in poverty. When I'm talking about Social Security for people who were born disabled and have never been able to work, that is a set amount of money. It gets cost of living increases from the federal government. But right now, I want to say it's like $927. That's all their income. If we don't help these people work, we're telling them that they have to find a way to survive on less than $1,000 a month in Tucson.
You can barely pay the rent.
Exactly. And everybody knows in the disability community that having a disability costs you more.
Yes.
So
it's like eating healthy. It's harder to do, and it costs more money for some reason to try to eat healthy.
Yeah. So you have to pay for your wheelchair to get fixed. You have to pay for additional doctor's appointments or medication.
Transportation, probably, if you can't drive. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Yep. So there's a million ways where living your day-to-day life as a person with a disability costs you more money, and yet we still expect them to exist on less than anybody would make.
It's ridiculous behavior. You know, as we're sitting here talking about this and we're talking about some of it, there's disabilities, as you were talking to me a little bit about people who become disabled. Like, could be a car accident and you're a driver, you're a truck driver, but now you can't drive that truck, right? And you were describing how even that works, because we all do pay into this, and that's why we get what we get if we're on disability at a point. And you were using an analogy of, like, if a truck driver crashes into a NASA engineer, that NASA engineer who now can't do his job is going to get paid $10,000 a month based on what he's put in there. And that's fascinating. But the thing that I'm sitting here thinking about, it's a video I saw the other day, and it's the idea of that, about someone that becomes disabled. And I watched a clip from when Christopher Reeve showed up on Sesame Street after his accident with his son. And they explained it and talked about it. And he was so positive and said, no, it's okay, because I can do this. And he blows into the tube to move the chair. And he goes, and I can lift my chair up and down. If I want to take a nap, I could just sit here, take a nap. And was just trying to put this positive spin on the whole situation that he was now in, and showing that now I do have these things, but I can still do this.
Exactly.
And that's really important, to try to meet these folks where they're at. We've heard that expression, but you got to meet people where they're at and not try to be like, well, here's the old time method we thought of back in the day, that we all have to hold this standard. And if you can't do that, well, then I guess you're worth 20 cents an hour.
Right.
That is inhuman and inhumane. So again, a really important fact to acknowledge, how we need to evolve how we treat people. And it's only just evolved within the last not even 5 years. That's incredible. And I'm so glad that we did talk today about all this, because it really is very important, and really is just something to acknowledge. And these people need to be seen and heard. And I'm so glad that you did reach out and are on your mission to do this more in the community and get more people to know about your organization and about these folks and how people can help them just by going and buying a cactus.
Right? All you have to do to fight ableism is come to Desert Survivors and do some plant shopping.
Go for that.
We don't want people in the service industry to be thinking that they are helping the poor disabled person to live a satisfactory life. What we're doing is we're being allies to disabled self-advocates who've been fighting for their civil rights for decades. All of the laws that we have in place, like the Americans with Disabilities Act, all of that we only have because of disabled activists. They were doing this on their own for decades before any of us cared. So it's not about protecting people. It's about recognizing that we need to make space for true diversity in our lives in every way. And we need to acknowledge that these people have potential, even if we don't know what it is yet.
Well said. A big problem that a lot of folks seem to have, especially these days because of everything being on demand and instant gratification, a lot of folks seem to have a real problem with being uncomfortable. Like it's a crime. You made me uncomfortable. That's a crime against me. No, it's not. The world's a very uncomfortable place. And unfortunately, some people just get uncomfortable around people with disabilities. It doesn't matter if it's a mental disability, a physical disability. It doesn't matter about any of that stuff. And they get very uncomfortable. And I'm going to tell you, you know how you stop that? By going down, getting involved, going to some of these events, educating yourself, and being around folks so you normalize the fact that they're normal and everyone deserves the right to be treated as an equal individual. And especially here in Tucson, where it's easier because we are a great community of fun folks that do like going out to events and do love supporting, and we do get together a lot. So I really do implore you to get more familiar with Desert Survivors and help them out when you can. Donate or just go buy some plants or go to an event. because you got a few of them that we can talk about. October 4th is your big fall plant sale, October 4th through the 11th. Tell me all about it.
So, if you want to be a Desert Survivors Nursery member, you can pay $100 a year, and every time you shop, you will get 20% off. That's in addition to the fact that we don't charge tax.
Oh, wow.
If maybe you're a little on the fence about a membership, perhaps you're not sure you'll shop that much, you can wait and come to our fall plant sale, October 4th to the 11th, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. every day, and get 10% off your purchases.
There you go.
So it's a way for people to come by, check us out, see what our prices are like, considering the no tax, and then get a little boost. And if they love it that much, or if they find a ton of stuff and their bill's going to be very high, they can become a member right then and get their 20% discount.
There you go. That's really good. And is it at 1020 West Star Pass Boulevard? Is that where they're going to hang out?
Yes, that's our only location.
If you want to give them a call and learn about the programs, it's 520-884-8806. To learn about the nursery, it's 520-791-9309. Program days are Monday through Friday. Nursery days are Thursday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. I'll give you a bunch of this info in the recap yet again when we're all through. And we are almost through, if you can believe it. My goodness. There is one other thing we wanted to touch on. Mm-hmm. You have a business as well where you're helping these folks. And now I'm not Delilah or anything, but why don't you tell us what else you're up to when it comes to helping adults with disabilities?
Yes. Well, I have a small business on the side called Sun Cup Wellness, where I support adults with disabilities and their families around sex education.
Fascinating.
It is. I love it. It's much needed. This is a population of people that have some of the highest rates of abuse and exploitation and the lowest rates of recovery services. Wow. Yeah.
That's interesting. So again, if people wanted to find out more about that, what is the name of it again?
Yep. suncupwellness.com.
There you go. Now, when it comes to Desert Survivors, where can people find you on Facebook and Instagram? Do you have those as well?
Yes. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
Oh, all right. Doing some of those fun dances, eh?
Not me. No. Yeah, Desert Survivors on everything.
There you go. Easy to find and easy to spot. And you're going to want to go hang out and make friends, because today we made friends with Hanna Woelke, the Executive Director of Desert Survivors, nurturing plants and people since 1981. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. It was lovely to be here.
This was Lifestyle Tucson. Bing bong bing, time for a recap. What a great conversation that was. Isn't it nice to hear what's happening? Hanna doing so much great work down there. Go buy some plants. Maybe you'll get a membership, right? That's the spirit. They're over at 1020 West Star Pass Boulevard in Tucson, Arizona, 85713. You can give them a call for program stuff at 520-884-8806. Get a call to the nursery over at 520-791-9309. Program days are Monday through Friday, and nursery days are Thursday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Don't sell anybody short. Why don't you go be nice to some folks that are working really hard to even have jobs? That's what these people got to do. They still got to have jobs because they do just want to be treated like everyone else. I even had a great conversation with NAMI a week or so ago, and they are the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And we had a great conversation about people with Down syndrome even, and how this gal just wants to get a boyfriend and get her own apartment and live her life because she's got a job. And that's the point. I've known people in my life that might have some sort of mental disorder or a mental disability. That doesn't mean that they can't still be a part of the community and do landscaping in the areas that we like to hang out and have a great job and be a part of the community, interacting with us as we go and do America's favorite thing to do, shop. And Tucson's favorite thing, shop for plants. So go get involved and really support this great organization of Desert Survivors. Because I want to thank our new friends at Desert Survivors for joining me today. You've been listening to Lifestyle Tucson. If you're a nonprofit that would like to be on the show, email lifestyletucson@gmail.com. For more information about this program or to listen to something you may have missed, go to the Sunday Mornings page on klpx.com, kfma.com, mixfm.com, or espntucson.com, and crankthehanktucson.com. You can also subscribe on iTunes and Spotify, and follow on Facebook Instagram, and YouTube, especially at Lifestyle Tucson, because I'm your BFF, your best Frank forever, Frank Powers, and toot toot Tucson, I love you the most.